Thank you very much for your brilliant explanations. Even from someone from the medical sector, I'm quite able to follow all the discussions. Thank you. The question that I have, actually I had two questions, but in the end one was already answered about priorities for medical transport. So the other one is, if you look at the future, not the next couple of years, but as mentioned afterwards, and automatization, so all the artificial intelligence, is it then not a very big challenge for regulation to come up with what is needed? If you look at the problems we face in ground transport and autonomous vehicles, where we are waiting for a lot of years now to have some rules that enable cars without drivers to circulate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You actually, in order to answer that question, a number of topics could be touched on, but maybe let's start with the regulation, because that's where you want to find out. We've got two colleagues sitting here from regulations, Maria and Chris. Perhaps Maria, if you can start, and Chris can follow on after that.
I like very much this question.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we deal with artificial intelligence and automation, and how do we make an artificial intelligence agent learning like a human, or maybe learning to respect a rule, or maybe we would need to change the rules so that this is possible. For aircraft, and as soon as you are taking off, I would say, so you will not need to deal with kids who are running, with the old lady who is pushing. So I will say, I'm not saying it's going to be easier than for cars, for autonomous cars, because you need to deal with man traffic and birth, of course, which are unpredictable. But we will not have the problem that how to recognize these sort of patterns. Of course, in the air, so you have you don't have a route of ways, which is something that you have on the ground. But we have a sort of more predictable patterns if everybody would be cooperative, I would say. So as I said, birth and some man traffic for XYZ are not cooperative. We are working, at least from the EASA side, on artificial intelligence. We have an artificial intelligence roadmap, which is also aligned with some roadmaps that they are at the Commission level, at the European level, which are also for all sorts of transport means. And we are already implementing some of these agents. Also, SESAR joint undertaking is working pretty much on that for their traffic management point of view. We are working on some automations of functions in all sorts of aircraft and aircraft operations. And we are working together also with the colleagues from SESAR and Eurocontrol as well, to try to see how we can automate, how we can digitalize, automatize, and introduce more artificial intelligence in their traffic management point of view, and make the link between the aircraft and the traffic management point of view. We need to always bear in mind that we have also uncooperative accept birth and air vehicles, but we will get there. What is the level of automation we will get, and how we can get all these artificial intelligence agents supporting these, certify, and this, of course, will take some time. Yes.
So, thank you, Maria. Chris?
If you want to say more.
Yeah.
Well, I think your answer was already pretty complete, but I share with you the idea that probably in the air it will be a little bit easier than for cars. And I also believe that use-based services, which are digital services, will enable this, will make this happen, will provide the level of safety and for medical services also the urgency that you really need. Yeah, besides that, I also want to share with the audience that indeed the regulations, the sets of regulations that we are talking about now, it's just a very start. It will evolve. There will be new regulations adapted based on what we learned from the demonstrations, what we learned from the first implementation. So this is really the very start, and yeah,
Thank you.
I think we can only dream of what will be the
well,
future.
actually, you say dream, but SAFIR is already working quite nicely in it, as Maria pointed out. A very nice project called GOF 2.0, Gulf of Finland 2.0, is already working on, and Frequentis is the organization from Austria. They've actually got an artificial intelligence unit established. They're taking the traffic, drone traffic flows already, and trying to run it through machine learning to see if they can find some efficient routes, and also trying to see how eventually they could effectively get two drones to automatically detect and avoid each other as such. But this is still R&D phase, and SAFIR is leading in that respect. So if you do get time, please go and look at GOF 2.0 project. We'll take one more question, please. The gentleman at the back, please.
Thank you. Bart Vermes, TU Delft from the Netherlands. We do research on avoidance strategies for drones to make them fully autonomous. And we all know that to make drones very economical, we need to have a lot of autonomous systems in the air. But there's still one question I have for the future, and I want your opinion about that, is how do you see that those other air traffic players are visible for everybody else? Do they need to be tracked by the drones, or will they send something? So how is your vision 5 years, 10 years from now, that all airspace users will be visible for everybody to make everything fully autonomous?
Thank you. You've just opened up a Pandora's box, haven't you? But let's try and contain that a little bit, because I think so what you're referring to is many things, like how do we integrate the unmanned drones, hopefully eventually, into the airspace so that they use the airspace with other users. And you've also introduced the idea of how is it that we're going to then identify and detect all of them as such. So how do they become conspicuous as such? Who would like to take this question? Although I think there were 2 hands that are being raised, 3 hands being raised. I told you you opened up a Pandora's box. Let's start with Ralph.
So from a use-based service provider perspective, we have the strong need and wish also in order to fulfill really autonomous flights at the end, that everyone will make himself visible who is using airspace. On the ground, this is something normal. So if you see a car on the street without a number plate, you would say, this is suspect. With an aircraft, it's quite typical at the moment. Yeah? So some of them don't want. That's a little bit open. In use space, there is, at least in my understanding, a certain level of conspicuousness necessary in order to serve it properly. And the good thing is there will be different means of make yourself conspicuous to use-based airspace. That might work for manned aircraft, for instance, also via mobile telephony. This is something which is currently under discussion. So there will be many different ways, either with certain identifiers, with mobile phones, with transponders, with things Manu and we are producing. So there will be different kind of measures, and at the end, the challenge is to put all these puzzle pieces together into one situational awareness. And once you have that, it's at the end pretty easy, hopefully, to sort it out for use space. That's my view.
Thank you, Ralph. Manu, would you like to come here first, and then we'll go to others?
Yeah, there is not much to add to what Ralph said. Maybe just add that basically in the regulatory framework that is coming for next year, in a use-based airspace, you will have 3 big families of way to be inconspicuous if you are an aircraft penetrating into a use-based airspace. So ADS-B out, FLARM-like system, and then mobile system. That's the 3 solutions.
Absolutely.
And it's great that Europe is pushing in this direction, and we hope that the rest of the world will understand that this is the way to go as well. So everybody needs to say that they are there.
Okay, there's Tim's very unhappy, sitting at the back, saying we've run out. But Hendrik Jan, I think very quickly, because I know you raised a hand, or one of you, I think, was it Hendrik Jan or Peggy?
I don't know.
He's a gentleman. Go for it.
Okay. What is also, when I told you before, the CISP is therefore also one of the crucial points. So the Common Information Service, it means that it gives the information and also radar data that can be made available for the drone operators. So this is already the first step that we would like to do, but then of course it will have to evaluate much further. So therefore the CISP is also very crucial.
Excellent. Well, there's time later on during coffee, so please grab hold of... oh, hang on, Maria's got something. Go for it, Maria. I did tell you you've opened up Pandora's box.
One last thing.
One last thing. I wanted to build on one page was saying. So we have electronic conspicuity, which for EASA was a big... I will say we use the drones trained to push hobby horses that we have since long time ago, which is mid-air collision between BFR traffic. And we use the drone train to go. However, it's only on the US-based aerospaces, and if Chris decided that in Belgian aerospace there is no US-based aerospace, we don't have then electronic conspicuity there. But I think the CIS is also equally important for the US-based aerospace, but we need to build on the idea, because there is where all the authorities, including military and state operations, which are the ones that don't want to have this plaque. And the traffic, and they don't want to be visible for obvious reasons. However, they could manage themselves along the other traffic, because through the seas, and they could start doing dynamic aerospace reconfigurations, so putting constraints that will be then transformed in restrictions for the drones operators through the USSPs. Nevertheless, we need to go a step further on that. So this is the beginning. I will say we need to go much further to get this down.
Right. With that, I'd like to thank my panelists for sharing your views and also being so keen to even use extra time to answer the questions, which tells you that during coffee time we're going to have many discussions. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll leave the floor to you, Mikhail.